All right, in today's podcast, I sit down with BZ from North Idaho Arms, a local firearms and firearm law expert. Here's what we covered: Idaho gun law updates, Washington gun law updates, how consumer protection laws were weaponized against the people of Washington, and how we can avoid that in Idaho. Let's go. You may not know who I'm talking to, so the man, the myth, the legend.
No.
Yeah. So welcome to the North Idaho Experience. If you haven't been here before, this podcast is really all about the community here in North Idaho and the people that call North Idaho home. So if you're thinking about making North Idaho your home, give our real estate team a call, text or email, and we'll get that rolling for you. But in today's show, we've got BZ from North Idaho Arms. I'm always wearing these shirts in the videos. He's a big supporter of ours. We're a big supporter of his, and I think he's doing a lot of great things in the firearms community here in North Idaho. Today's video, we're going to talk about some very important topics. We're going to dive into Idaho gun law updates, Washington gun law updates. We get a lot of viewers from Washington. Crazy shit going on over there right now, unfortunately. We'll talk about your business, and you guys are about a year in and kind of what's going on with that. So that's what's coming. Stick around. Lots of great info for you. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. You know the deal. So you can stay up to date on all of our stuff.
Is this the part of the video where like the bald eagle comes screeching through and like exactly. The promo?
You seen the one with someone
doing
the
eagle
machine
with
guns?
The machine guns?
So cool.
Yeah.
Pretty much it. We're very unapologetically American, and I think that's why we get along so well.
I want to get Tyler in here with you, Ty.
Yep.
And maybe not even like you don't need to see his face on camera, right? But just having him sit in the corner and just watching, because he's doing so much, we started a new series, a new line of videos called the Hey Ty videos.
I love it.
Right, and literally it's Ty filming the clown, and every video starts with Hey Ty, and you hear this voice from behind the counter is like, "What's up, BZ?" And like we just did one where legitimately we went to SHOT Show. I got to tell this story; it's awesome. We went to SHOT Show. First day, Tuesday, we were there. We get there late Monday night. We get delayed in Portland, and so we land at the airport, and the flight from Portland to Vegas was all gun guys.
Oh, my bad, dude.
So literally, we're sitting at this bar, and we got a 3-hour delay, and it's just going down, right? It's going down, and guys are coming up to me, and they're like, "Hey, are you that guy? Like, are you that guy from Facebook?
Yeah.
Are you that guy from like I think I saw you on Fox News?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's me, man." And so it was kind of cool to be recognized, right? But we're getting ham boned, right? And so we get into Vegas late. So Tuesday morning we get up, and literally I told Ty, I'm like, just stick on my hip, and we're gonna walk this show. And we did 11 and a half miles a day,
dude.
And we didn't even see half of it.
That's insane.
It's crazy. It's absolutely it's bananas, and it's brutal, and it's ridiculous. So Tuesday, Ty's with me, and like, I introduce him to all the guys at Arrow, and I go introduce him to all the guys at Dead Air, and we go to Q, and we go to Sons of Liberty, and like all these guys and all these people that I know, just, "Hey guys, what's up, man? Great to see you, blah, blah, blah. This is my guy, Ty, my young Padawan. Like when you call, if you're not talking to me, you're talking to Ty." And they're like, "Right, it's awesome." So then Tuesday night, we go out to dinner. We've got a distributor that takes us out to dinner. We go to Guy Fieri's on the Strip. We throw it back, right? BZ, 49-year-old BZ, Wednesday mornings, a little like, ooh. And so I tell Ty, I'm like, "Hey, literally, get going. We'll catch up. Like, there's some things I need to do today, but like, I need you to go find the 3 or 4 things that we need to be looking at this next year, right?" And so he makes his way to the 6-hour booth, right, and to the SIG rep, one of these distributors, and in our video, the Hey Ty video, it's like, "Hey man, remember you had the checkbook?" And he didn't have the checkbook, but he had the pen, right? Which you're writing purchase orders. And so like last week, there's like $10,000 worth of SIG LPVOs that show up.
Ooh.
I'm a little dude, man. I'm a small store.
That's a big investment,
That's a
right?
big investment on like 4 or 5 SKUs of optics, right? And I'm sure there's going to be other gun stores that are like, "No, we sell that in a weekend." And I'm like, right on, right? $15,000 for us is a lot of money, right? Yeah. Especially because I don't charge full price really for anything. So what do? Like, "Hey man, you guys come in this weekend, You buy an AR-15, you buy an 80% build kit, whatever, we're going to give you a free $400 optic.
Oh.
I think we gave away 8 of them this weekend.
Good deal.
Yeah, it was great, right? It's great. Again, for the people.
Right.
Everything we do should be for the people. So the Hey Ty line of videos is good because it's what I'm trying to teach him is be self-deprecating and build a platform where people can relate to you. When we get online, if I want to portray myself as a superhero and I'm the freaking know-all, be-all gun guy or whatever, I'm not. And you and I have talked about this.
Yep.
I'm just a fat kid who owns a gun store. Right? At the end of the day, like, I'm just a fat kid who owns a gun store. And so, try to be a little self-deprecating. And what I'm trying to explain to Ty and the picture I'm trying to paint with Ty is like, hey, we have so many people that travel to come see us. From all over Idaho, from all over Montana. We're getting people now. I told you my phone was going to go off.
I get it.
I've had people come down from BC and then all over Washington, obviously, that want to come in because they saw me, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's via your channels or, William Kirk, Washington Gun Law, Fox News, whatever. They've seen us and they've kind of heard our story. And so a lot of people just want to come and see if the guy that's on camera is really the guy that they're going to talk to. Right? And so I tell Ty, I go, listen, sometimes people want to go see the clown. And to go see the clown, you got to go to the circus. Right? You got to buy a ticket to the circus. So now they bought a ticket to the circus. They're going to see the clown. And maybe when they're there, they'll buy a bag of popcorn. Right?
Great analogy.
Maybe they'll buy a T-shirt. Maybe they'll buy some mags. Maybe they'll buy a gun or whatever, right? And I go, that's all we have to do, right? When somebody walks into our store, it's like one of 3 things. They either have a problem, a want, or a desire. That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
And you solve it.
We solve it, right? Solve the problem, figure out what the want is, and fuel the desire.
Right.
And that's all we have to do. And if we do that, we're successful. We'll be successful.
So you guys have been doing a lot of good stuff there at the shop, dude. I appreciate you. You have some great stories of interactions with clients of like going the extra mile. We were just kind of talking about that. And providing that service for people where other gun shops in town might be, too busy to handle the difficult clients. And I don't mean difficult, but maybe a transaction that's not super easy, right?
Yeah. There's first and foremost, there's like 15 gun stores in North Idaho.
Yeah.
There's a lot, right? And we are just another drop in the bucket that is North Idaho. And we say this to people all the time, like, there's legitimately 15, 16, 17 gun stores in North Idaho. And if I don't have the answer for you, if I don't have the product for you, if I don't have the solution for you, I promise you I have a contact in my phone, and I will make sure that you have that contact, and I will point you in the right direction. Because, again, a problem, a want, or a desire when they walk in. And so if somebody's got a problem and I can't help them with it, well, maybe my buddy who works at Black Sheep, or maybe Kinsey and Mark at Triple B, maybe they can take care of it. And that customer deserves that. They deserve to get that problem taken care of.
That's the right way to do business. We kind of roll that way as well, because sometimes we're not the perfect fit, right? Maybe we can find you that perfect fit. I have a want, by the way. It's a
1895 dark. I know. So
that's hilarious.
Ruger Marlin.
Ruger
Marlin. Please build these guns and get them out to people, because you are one of literally 9 people that are willing to prepay for these things.
Yeah.
And I won't take money until I know that I can get the gun.
Yep.
Right? And so specifically that gun, and I'm sure you'll pop a link or whatever up on that gun, Ruger 1895 Dark Series 4570 lever gun, super cool gun. They're about $1,200 retail, I think.
Yeah.
And I think right now, if you go on Gunbroker or Guns.com, they're reselling on the gray market for $500 to $800 over.
Yep, that's where I've seen them. I've seen like 16 to.
And I won't do that to people, right? I'm not going to charge you over retail for an item. I'm okay with paying full price, but I'm not going to have you charge.
Yeah,
I'm not going to have you pay extra.
That's hilarious that you knew where I was going with that.
Exactly.
I've been bugging you about that for like a year. So
literally, I think we've been open for just over a year, and I think it's probably been like 11 months. So.
Yeah. That's my dream gun. Yeah. That's the next one coming.
Yeah.
You did sell me that. I finally built out my short barrel shotgun. I got my tax stamp and
think
all
sexy
official.
too.
It is
all
sexy,
the
dude.
Wooks wood on it.
Yeah.
You got to put a picture of that on there.
It's
'cause
super cool.
Yeah,
I'll pop a picture up for you guys.
that's a hot gun right there.
It is. You inspired me on that one, so
Yeah.
I'm pretty stoked on that. What? Let's jump into gun laws, dude.
Yeah.
Let's start with Idaho because obviously
Okay.
we're in Idaho and that's pertinent to what we got going on here, and we'll jump into Washington after that. But you said there's not a whole lot of updates going on right now.
There's nothing really super crazy negative. There's lots of little things going on in the Idaho legislature, and so at the end of the day, I always ask everybody to be informed, be in the know. Get on the websites and start looking up, because the things that might be important to me might not be important to you, and vice versa. And so the one thing that we need to know, and I think when we talked the very first time we came in, we talked about where Idaho ranks in the grand scheme of things. So per the Giffords Institute, per the anti-gun organizations, Idaho is dead last in their eyes, right?
Yes.
Like, we are the worst state in the union for being anti-gun, which means, God bless you, Idaho, we are number one in the United States for being pro-gun.
That's amazing.
It is. So we got to hold on to it.
Yeah.
We got to hold on to it.
This is where things people need to remember, and this is one of the things we deal with here in North Idaho, is people get very complacent, right? They're like, oh, this is great.
Yep.
This is the most free place in the world, and they forget that it won't stay that way unless we proactively work to keep it that way.
So think of it like this, right? Like, nobody's coming for your magazines in Idaho. Nobody's coming for your guns in Idaho. Nobody's requiring, out of the ordinary background checks or fees or limits or restrictions. Nobody's asking for that in Idaho, which is awesome. But when you have 25% of your populace get out and vote,
Dismal.
that means 25% of the people that are here are making your laws or pushing the narrative. And so get out and vote. Right? And we heard that so much during this last election with Trump running, like, it's cold. I got to go stand in line for an hour. My wife and I, we stood in line for 90 minutes to go vote in Hayden. And it was awesome. Because coming from a place where we had to mail in ballots and our ballots just never seemed to count, like, that was about as the most American thing that we could do, right? And we got to go vote for the president. We got to go vote for the sheriff. We got to go vote for all these different things, right? And we know that our votes counted. In North Idaho, there was a lot of people that were there voting. But, again, the numbers don't show that a ton of people get out and vote. And so we always hear about the cows, right? Californians, Oregonians, Washingtonians moving into God's country. And if you want to mitigate that risk, get off your ass and vote.
Yep. It's that
Get off
easy.
your ass. That's all you got to do is get off your butt and vote.
And inform yourself, right? We try to help here, and we have some plans in the works to help in other ways on getting information out there, because that's the important thing, right? You need to know what you're getting in. I've been there. I've gone to the ballot before and not done my research, and I'm like, shit, I recognize these names, but I don't know what they stand for.
There's an R next to that name,
right?
Or there's a D next
must
to
be
that
good,
name.
right?
Yeah, must be good or must be bad, right? And a lot of times that is we hear stories of people just vote down the ballot Democrat or vote down the ballot Republican, and it is what it is, right? Is that always the best way? No.
I'll give you guys a little hint of what we got coming. We are going to work towards forming a judicial watch group up here. We have the people in place to do it. We have the resources, and we have the platform. So what we're going to do is have volunteers go sit in on random hearings at the courthouse and just take notes and see how the judges are judging these cases. See, and because that's a huge black hole up here, is there's no information on the judges, and they are one of the most important things up here is how are they judging these cases.
And we have some judges that are letting some things happen.
Yeah, and you can't find information on them anywhere. They just show up on the ballot. I didn't even vote for any this year because I just didn't know. I just left them blank.
So Mike, I believe, I apologize, runs North Idaho News.
Yep.
They post constantly, right? And I get a lot of my information off of North Idaho News from off Facebook, right? And so when you see these things about, so-and-so was arrested a year ago and was released by such and such judge because of blah, 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 and then now this guy reoffends. It's like, man, we had this SOB a year ago for drinking and driving or for beating his wife or for looking at kids or whatever. How the hell is this guy out on the streets?
Yep.
Activist judges.
There are some shitty ones up here.
Some activist judges, and that is, we talk about the governor, and we talk about the lieutenant governor, and we talk about the sheriff, and all these things, right? And especially up here, we had a pretty contentious sheriff's race this last election. Nobody's talking about judges.
Nope.
Nobody's talking about judges,
we're gonna solve that problem. That'll be coming. We'll do, I think it'll probably be a monthly update on what's going on in the courts here.
Let me know how I can help. I want to be
I appreciate it.
I'll be balls deep into that.
Yeah,
So.
Eric, our partner's going to head that up. And like I said, we have a bunch of retired cops up here that are like, I got nothing to do. I'll go sit in on a case, and I know what's going on. Then they'll report back, and we'll report back to you guys and get you that info because, absolutely, they are like kind of the front line of what's going on. And their policies, the way they do things, it matters deeply. So that's coming.
Kind of circle back to Idaho gun law. So again, nobody's coming for your mags. Nobody's coming for your guns. Gun law in Idaho is getting better. Now, the one thing on Idaho that I really want to talk about, and because we're starting to see this this monster creep its head up throughout the United States, is gun rights organizations. And I want to clarify and make sure that this is 100% out there. I do not run a gun rights organization. I do not raise money for any gun rights organizations. I do not accept any money from gun rights organizations. So I am 100% a neutral party to this. There are gun rights organizations throughout the United States and in Idaho that are gobbling up dollars, and that money's not getting, 80%, 75%, but the overhead is so high, 25, 30, 40% is going to admin and overhead and blah, 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 blah. That's just a job, right? That's hypothetically, if I was to take money and raise $100,000 and I took 30,000 of it off the top, that's just a job, right? And so, kind of like the veterans organizations, Wounded Warriors and that sort of thing.
Notorious for that.
Right? Like, I don't want to see, if I give somebody $1,000 to help a guy out, that 50% of it's going to that end cause and 50% of it's going to pay people's salaries. Like, I don't want to see that. Right. I want to see 95, 97% of that money going towards the organization and going towards the cause. So that's my big thing on Idaho gun law is start looking at who you're giving money to. You should be giving money. You should be donating money. That is like vote with your pocketbook, right? You should be giving some money out, and you should be being proactive instead of reactive. But know where your money's going and know how that money's being spent. Who owns that company? Who owns the website to that company? Where are those decisions that are being talked about here in Boise and in our capital? Where are those decisions actually being fermented? Is it in Ohio somewhere? Is it in Vermont? Is it in Washington, D.C.? Like, where's the decision makers actually at?
Do you have anybody you can recommend? I know you don't want to talk smack about anybody, but do you have somewhere that you can recommend?
Yeah. So again, like
I know you're not affiliated.
Yeah, not affiliated at all. I like Gun Owners of America, right? Yeah. They're a good organization. And I really like the FPC, the Firearms Policy Coalition. So all you guys that are rolling around out there with your pistol braces now, that are enjoying pistol braces again, the FPC was one of those organizations that literally had their printer on full auto, and they were printing lawsuits. And so FPC is huge. Gun Owners of America. I think the NRA is going to be making a comeback. Wayne LaPierre was real good at spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on jets and suits. I think the NRA is going to make a good comeback. Second Amendment Foundation is good. The Silent Majority Foundation is good. But again, it has to be a good fit for you, right? Any organization that wants you to give them money before you can pay your own bills is not a good organization.
Right.
So always take care of yourself, always take care of your family, always take care of your small local community. And if you have a couple extra bucks, please donate responsibly.
Is there anything specific to Idaho out there that people can donate to? That's worthwhile in your opinion?
Yeah, I would say, look at the Gun Owners of America, look at the FPC, and look at these national organizations, and then start diving into the regional causes that they're doing, right? Because again, there's no magazine ban in Idaho, and there's no assault weapons ban in Idaho, but that doesn't mean that it won't come, right? They won't come for us. So all of these big national organizations all have regional operations, regional chapters. They've got regional supervision, regional presidents. Reach out, right? And that's the thing is, if you email a guy that is supporting or representing Idaho, and you email him and you don't hear back from him, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And that's the big thing that we hear about kind of what's going on in Idaho right now is like, hey, I reached out to so-and-so, and I've reached out 3 or 4 times, and I've never, ever heard back from him. That's a huge red flag, right? Especially like they're paying admin costs. They have people that check their emails. They have people that answer the phones. You should be at least getting a courtesy phone call or something more than a canned email back. So again, I don't want to put any organization on blast, and I honestly, I don't want to throw my hat into the ring for any organization because I don't want to seem biased either way. But do your research, spend your money properly.
Yeah, and now we were talking before the show. You had the opportunity to talk to Governor Brad Little, the governor of Idaho, down at SHOT Show. Mm-hmm. What did you bring up to him?
So I kind of set the stage. So I went on Wednesday. There was the Governor's Forum in SHOT Show, and it was open. It was open for like 2,500 people, 2,600 people, and so I was able to get a front row seat. And it was the Governor of Idaho, the Governor of Montana, the Governor of Wyoming, Nebraska, Nevada, Oklahoma. Okay.
No, California, Oregon, and Washington.
No, it's amazing how that
Newsom
happens,
wasn't
right?
there.
Newsom wasn't
Weird.
there, right? Turd Ferguson wasn't there. None of those guys were there. But what's cool is one of the things, and I'll circle back. But one of the things that they talked about is they talked about the movement of human beings into their states, the migration patterns, right?
It's a big deal right now, right?
And so Idaho, Montana, and Oklahoma are huge magnets for people, and a lot of conservatives, right? And so Idaho, Montana, Oklahoma are always like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Tennessee's in there a lot, where people are moving to. So why, right? And in North Idaho, we hear people that move up here, and they're moving up here for obviously the scenery and the beauty and the politics and the conservatism. And then we hear people that move to Southern Idaho, and we hear them moving for jobs and technology and the culture and this and that. And so, again, one of the things we talked about a year ago was, 90% of the people that are moving to North Idaho consider themselves conservatives. A lot of them more fervently conservative than even maybe the people that are here. That is not the same as who's moving into South Idaho.
Right.
And so it's more, it's not quite a 50-50, but I think it's more of like a 65-35 conservative to liberal into South Idaho. But so at the end of their presentation, they talked about, all the things that are going on pro-gun wise, and Idaho is kind of leading the charge with bringing manufacturers and they call it rec tech, recreation tech, all the hunting, camping, fishing, biking, everything into Idaho. Once they kind of did that, I got to ask a question. I was one of the people that was pre-selected, and I got to stand up in front of 2,500 people. And I didn't ask the board, the 6, a question. I asked Governor Brad Little a question. And I asked Governor Little in front of 2,500 people, I said, hey, Governor Little, Brian Zielinski, North Idaho Arms, beautiful Post Falls, Idaho.
Hell yeah.
And he goes, yep. He goes, I love Post Falls. I need to get up there. I said, yes, sir. You need to get up and come see us. He goes, how can I help you? And I go, sir, how can I help you? I want to help future-proof Idaho against the people that are moving here, against the people that are here, against the people that are going to be voting in 10 or 15 years, and help future-proof Idaho to make it so that Consumer Protection Act law can never be used the way it was used in Washington and now in other states, because other states are now glomming onto what Washington's doing. Consumer Protection Act law can never be used and modified to stifle the Second Amendment. And I said, I've talked to a couple people, Jordan Redmond, a couple other senators, a couple other reps, and it's looking like we are going to need to make a constitutional amendment to the Constitution of the state of Idaho. And literally the guy goes, "Gulp." And he's like, I'm not a real big fan of constitutional amendments, blah, 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 blah. But we did a constitutional amendment for hunting to make sure that hunting is a fundamental right in the state of Idaho. So, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more. So, forum's over. I got to meet with Governor Little after the forum, made sure that I had given him my contact information. Of course, he's got a handler, so that information went right to the handler, and he was like, we would like to talk to you in the future about this a little bit more. He didn't know that I was going to be at the governor's dinner sitting at his table a mere 4 hours later. So,
Nice.
A couple hours later, I go to the governor's dinner that's put on by the Department of Commerce in the state of Idaho. And I was brought there from the guys from Genesis Firearms. And I got to talk with the governor again some more. And it was cool because, we're sitting there, we're eating prime rib, we're having a beer. Everybody's guards down a little bit. It's all friendlies that are there. And we got to talk a little bit more. So, again, when I moved over, we talked about there's things that I want to help do legislatively. It is not a short fight. It is not a short-term thing. This is a thing that is going to take years. But if we can pull this off, we are going to future-proof Idaho against future Idaho. I'm not worried about me. I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about my 14-year-old daughter, right? And I'm worried about, my grandkids that aren't even thoughts yet, right? I'm worried about 20, 25, 30 years from now when the demographic has changed enough in Idaho where maybe there's a governor or an attorney general that says, I want to take $30, $35 million from the Bloomberg Group, like Bob Ferguson did, and I want to help change laws as well. And so we're just going to nip that in the bud.
That's what happened in Washington, right?
Yeah.
So used commerce law.
Yeah. So again, kind of recap, in Washington for 7 years in a row, they tried to do a magazine ban. They tried to do assault weapon ban for like 11 years in a row, and we always got it killed in committee, right? We always got them hung up. And so, when you're working on legislation, you've got, the bills get introduced and they get sponsored and co-sponsored, and everybody jumps on and they start going up the lines of committees, and then they go through rules meetings and appropriations and Senate Judiciary and House this. And they finally got a bill that the House can vote on or the Senate can vote on. And maybe it has amendments to it, maybe it doesn't. It goes over to the other side. The other side does it, boom, 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 and then it goes to the governor. We were always able to get those bills killed. So the Bloomberg organization comes into Washington and says, hey, we have this idea. We have this idea using Consumer Protection Act law. Consumer Protection Act law is kind of rooted in states' rights. And so states inevitably have the right to guard their own commerce. And that's what Washington did. And, one of the things that we talked about is I testified in Olympia in the Senate, and we talk about the Second Amendment of the United States, and we talk about the Washington State Constitution, how the Washington State Constitution is actually stronger than the Second Amendment of the United States. And at the end of the day, it was, Mr. Zelensky, we are not taking anything from any of our citizenry. We are not banning anything from any of our citizenry. We are simply protecting our citizens from gun dealers like you. And the whole goal is to stop the transactions. And so now you look at 2.5 years later, 30% of retail FFLs in Washington are gone. Wow. I know of 6 FFLs. I've got this little spider sense network in Washington of FFLs. I know of 6 FFLs on the east side of Snoqualmie Pass in eastern Washington that will be out of business. They've already committed. They're going out of business this summer.
Oh, man.
And This is not King County. This is not Seattle. This is not Pierce County, Tacoma. This is your small agricultural, ag communities that they're going to lose their pawn shop, or they're going to lose their small gun dealer that services everything from ammo to 50 cals. They service everything, and they're gone. They're just literally being pushed out. And with some of the stuff that's getting ready to happen in Washington now, we know that there's probably going to be another 30% in the next year or two after that. And so at the end of the day, that is real gun control.
Yep.
No one in Idaho, and no one, I hope to God, no one in Washington is going to come to your door and, Mr. Horsch, we need to look at your firearms. Like, that's not going to happen, right? And I hope it would never happen here in Idaho, because it would get ugly.
Real fast.
Real fast. But if now all of a sudden Seth can't go to his local gun store because that local gun store has an insurance requirement that's going to cost them, $20,000 a month for insurance, that FFL goes out of business. Now, Mr. Horsch, you can own anything you want. Where can you buy it? There's no bad business. They went out of business. They didn't know how to manage themselves. That's gun control. That's how they're doing it. That's how they figured it out.
So sneaky.
It is.
Well, so what you're saying is, it sounds like Washington's going to be really safe then in the future, because there won't be any guns there, right?
Washington's going to be something in the future. I can tell you that.
What are your thoughts on? Why? Why are they doing that?
So,
do you think their hearts are in the right place at all? Do they really think they're helping people, or is this?
I think that number one, you have a supermajority liberal representation, and that is not who lives in Washington, but that is who is represented in Washington. Mm-hmm. And so I think your groups like the Bloomberg Group and the Giffords Group, and the DNC David Hogue, who the anti-gunner kid is like number 2 at the DNC. That just tells you right there, the DNC does not have gun rights in their vision at all moving forward.
Nope.
So states like Washington, Oregon, and California, they are just going to toe that line. They're just going to fall right in line, right? And again, we talk about all the time, guys come over from Spokane, they come over from Moses Lake, and they're like, man, this is not who we are. And I go, I get it. If 100% of the people who didn't live in Snohomish County, King County, Pierce County, Thurston County, so all the other counties in Washington, if there was 100% voter turnout and they all voted conservative, they all voted pro-gun, they would lose.
That's insane.
Because all that needs to happen is Snohomish County, King County, Pierce County, Thurston County, they just need to have a 40% liberal voter turnout, and they're going to win statewide, because that's where the population's at.
Talk about feeling like you don't have a voice.
Your voice is not heard.
If you live out there, I feel for you guys. I've been there, right? I did live in California, so I know it sucks. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And when you feel like the government is being horribly mismanaged and there's literally nothing you can do about it, I understand why so many people are leaving. Mm-hmm. What else do you do? That's why I left.
Yeah, and so, you're seeing now, Inslee just left, and, the rumor is that he's moving to Hayden.
We'll see.
I don't think he's moving to Hayden.
I keep hearing that, too. People keep commenting.
Well, and we've had some tradesmen that have come in that have said, hey, we got a contract to build this, and we got a contract to do this. I don't think Jay Inslee bought a home on Hayden Lake or on the golf course or whatever. Now, was there a trust? You got to understand, Inslee's family owns or is partners in a big law firm in Bellevue. And so did that trust, did that organization, whatever, did they buy a home on Hayden Lake? And maybe Jay's going to be here in July, August, September when, God's country's in its full splendor. Maybe. Is it going to be a VRBO the rest of the year? I don't know, right? I can just tell you that if Jay Inslee's ass is sitting on his deck in July on Hayden Lake, the North Idaho Arms pontoon boat's going to be parked out front, and there's going to be some motley crew just raging at that house, I promise. So everybody else on Hayden Lake, I apologize. you know, but
I think it's too scary here for him. He'd see Trump flags everywhere.
Well,
it just would be terrifying.
And so there's been some Twitter activity between myself and a couple people in Washington, including up into the past governor and now current governor. And it's just like, you know, Jay, please understand that your Washington State Patrol Security Detail is not going to come into Idaho. They're not. So, you know, you're going to have private security or whatever, or you and your wife are just going to come over to Idaho to hang out, and you're going to end up at Fred Meyer, or you're going to end up at Walmart, and you're going to have to go buy some cat food or some, you know, whatever. And you are going to run into one of the many thousands of people that 100% don't agree with you. And they might not be as articulate and nice as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. They're like, well, I uprooted my family and I went through hell because of you.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so, you know, if Jay Inslee ever sees this or hears this, don't come.
Yeah.
California's beautiful, brother. Take your ass there.
Many a great lake there you could go live.
Absolutely.
On, right?
Go there, right? Go there.
Tahoe.
Don't come to North Idaho for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call. What else is going on in There's some dumb shit going on.
Yeah. So I brought a bunch of stuff, and you know, I'm sure we might have to condense this down a little bit.
Oh yeah. You did your homework.
A little bit, right? A little bit. So first and foremost, when the Democrats in Washington run gun control bills, there's always 3, 4, 5 bills, right? And it's just this big wall of shit, right? There's always a poison pill, right? There's always a poison pill, and there's always that one bill that if it were to go through, like they're like, yes, but that's the one that they're probably going to throw away to kind of take the eyes off the prize of everything else. And so this year, the poison pill, I think, is 1504. And House Bill 1504, or excuse me, 1504 is, House Bill 1504, 1504, is the requirement for insurance, personal insurance, $25,000 per firearm that you as a gun owner would have to have. You have to get an insurance policy. So let's just take the average, not Idaho gun owner, okay? Let's take the average Washington gun owner that has 10 guns, right? That's $250,000 worth of insurance.
I wonder, do you know what that costs?
Well, there's no insurance policy. There's no insurance company that actually has that policy.
Oh,
so now you got to self-insure.
Okay.
Right, and you got to bond it out, right, and go that way. So you're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands.
And this
dollars.
is liability insurance, not theft insurance.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And so.
So wait. Do the gang members have to do that too?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. They don't even need car insurance.
Just the law-abiding citizens that aren't going to break a law with their gun.
So this is the bill 1504. It is currently in its current form. 18 pages. I think it's dead right now.
Oh, I hope.
Right? There was literally like 100,000, 150,000 people that weighed in on the con, you know, the pro and con. They weighed in to say this is BS. We're not going to stand for this, right? And at some point, legislators have to look at that, right? So I think this is the poison pill. This is the one that got everybody riled up, and I think.
Let's hope
that one's going to get thrown away,
okay.
and we don't have to worry about that, right? But what that did is that took everybody's eyes and took it off of the other stuff. And so the first one we'll talk about is House Bill 1132, which is bulk limits on firearm purchases and ammunition. And it says an act relating to enhancing public safety by limiting bulk purchases and transfers of firearms and ammunition, amending the RCW, adding a new section. A person found to have committed a civil infraction shall be assessed a monetary penalty. So what they're saying is you can only buy one gun every 30 days, and you can only buy 1,000 rounds of ammo a month. And so initially, I'm like, well, how do they enforce this? Well, Washington, there's a registration. And I'll show you that here in just a couple minutes. But there is a registration on almost everything you buy. How do they make sure that you're only buying 1,000 rounds a month? In the current form, which this is literally like a 4-page bill, in the current form, I'm not 100% sure, unless they were to enact that sneaky background check rule that you have to do, like in California, where you got to pass a background check to buy ammunition. So if that were to happen, hypothetically, if that were to happen, Washington resident Seth walks into blah, blah, blah gun store in Seattle or Bellevue or wherever and says, I want to buy a 1,000-round case of 9mm. Okay, so you got 10.8% sales tax in King County, plus the 11% they're bringing, which we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Oh, my gosh.
So now you're 22% sales tax on your ammo. If they were to enact a background check, now there's an $18 background check fee, and there's a 10 business day wait, and there's proof of training.
To buy ammo?
To buy ammo. Now, again, they're just talking about limiting to 1,000 rounds, but what is the mechanism of how they can prove that somebody's only buying 1,000 rounds, right? And so we're kind of talking hypothetically a little bit here. But because everything goes through the Washington State Patrol, through the SAFE Act system, there is a footprint, a digital and a paperwork footprint, and a registry of every purchase that's made. So for the guy, the guys on Reddit that are like, BZ, I'm just going to go to 4 different gun stores and buy ammo. I'm like, God bless you, that's awesome. Just understand, there's no plausible deniability at that point.
Yep.
Because if they're going to actually do this, which this is step one, if they're going to actually do this, they're going to be able to track it all and trace it all. So this is a bad one, 1 gun a month. And again, like, how often do people go out and buy 3 or 4 guns in a month? It's not often, but it happens. Right? I get people every day that walk in that are like, oh, man, I want to get that new Glock 19, blah, 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 blah. Dude, you got a pretty great deal on stripped receivers. I'm going to buy 2 or 3 of those. All of a sudden, a guy's buying 4 guns.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's going to go away. Right? So that's pretty bad. So that's House Bill 1132. We want to keep our eyes on that. House Bill 1152, which is the safe storage for your car and home. And this is basically, it's a 7-page bill, and it is increasing the requirements of how you store your firearms, whether they're in your car or in your home. And let me start by saying, please, please, please do not leave your gun in the center console of your truck. There has been a huge amount of break-ins in North Idaho, and there's been so many guns stolen, it's unbelievable, because guys are using their cars as holsters. Don't do that.
Sounds like a terrible idea.
Don't do that, right? You're as a lawful, legal, responsible gun owner, you should have control and possession of your firearm at all time.
And you can get those vaults for
Absolutely.
the center. They're not that expensive.
There's no excuse.
Right.
There is no excuse. Yeah. Now, the big one on part of this is, so now you're at my house, and I've got multiple gun safes at my house, as you do as well. But by law, if this goes in Washington, you've got to keep all of your guns locked in a gun safe 100% of the time that they are physically not in your hand.
Wow.
So 2 o'clock in the morning, and again, let's remember, bad stuff doesn't happen for the most part at 10:30 in the morning on a Monday. It happens at 2:30 in the morning on a Saturday night, and you roll out of bed in your underwear, and you don't have your glasses on, and you stub your toe, and now you got to go in and try to pop a number into your safe or do the dial on your safe to grab your AR or your shotgun or your handgun because there's some guy that's in your house, right? That's what they're trying to do in Washington. To me, 1152 is about punishing gun owners and enabling criminals.
Does it say you specifically have to have it in a safe, or if you have like one of those little like a wall-mounted AR holder that kind of covers it?
Yeah, it says a person shall not store or leave a pistol in any vehicle unless the pistol is stored and loaded in a container that is opaque, locked, hard-sided, affixed within the vehicle. Container is concealed from view from outside the vehicle, and the vehicle is locked, and then they kind of go into that in the home as well. And so, again, is this making gun owners safe, or is this enabling criminals?
Right.
I think it's enabling criminals.
100%.
So that's
they're not going to do that.
That's 1152. We want to keep a look on that as well.
Oh boy, not looking good in Washington.
No, the bills that I always get real scared of in my small rodent brain are the ones that are 39 pages long. And so House Bill 1163 is 39 pages long. And for you guys that have come from maybe the East Coast, this is where you're going to need to get a FOID card. FOID card, you ask. Firearms, owner, identification, blah, 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 right? It is basically a permit, not a concealed weapons permit. It is a permit to be able to go buy a gun.
How does that even remotely okay with the Second Amendment?
It's not.
That's insane.
It's not. Luckily in Idaho, we're a constitutional carry state. We can carry guns or whatever. I understand the need for concealed weapons permits, especially when you want to cross state lines and go into other states. Yep. I think a national carry permit would be awesome. I think the Idaho enhanced carry permit is great. It allows you to carry into other states. But what I think is absolute horseshit is telling somebody that they need to go and be fingerprinted and background checked and photographed and, of course, pay a fee to get a card that says you can now go and get fingerprinted, do a background check, pay a fee to get a concealed weapons permit, get fingerprinted, blah, 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 pay fees, do background checks to buy guns, to wait 10 days, right? And so this is a big 39-page piece of poop because, again, it's just everything Washington is doing is about stifling the Second Amendment. And the goal of something like this is when the 23-year-old kid, 22-year-old kid, it's now his or her turn to get into firearms and get into the marketplace. All of a sudden, it is so arduous and so hard to get this permit, to do this thing, that young person goes, man, I'd rather go bowling, I'd rather go bass fishing, I'd rather go snowmobiling, whatever. I'm going to do anything else other than own firearms. Nobody buys firearms. Gun dealers go out of business. Gun dealers go out of business. Nobody can sell firearms. The state of Washington now looks at their citizenry and goes, we didn't take anything from anybody. We didn't take it away from you.
That's so disturbing.
We just made it a little bit harder for you to buy it, and it's not our fault that your gun stores are such bad businessmen that they went out of business, and now there's no place for you to buy a gun.
Right.
That is actual gun control. That is actual gun control. Again, I don't think anybody's going to knock on your door and say, hey, we want to take your gun away.
Nope.
I think they're just going to make it where you cannot buy firearms anymore.
Do you think with Trump being elected president, he will be able to help in any way, or do you think he'll leave it to the states to decide?
So yes and no. So, Trump just did some executive orders that basically kind of erased what Biden had did from 2021 forward, right? That really doesn't do much for Washington. In fact, it does absolutely nothing for Washington. But like your bump stock ban is gone now, and your brace, your short barrel rifle, your pistol brace thing, that's effectively gone now. We're still kind of in the era of like FRT triggers, forced reset triggers, that sort of thing. I think that's gonna kind of go our way as well. My fear is just like every liberal says, Trump was going to take away a woman's right. He's going to take away women's rights. No, he didn't.
No.
He basically went and said, the state needs to take care of this. The state is the law of the land. You live in this state. That is the law of the land. And so Idaho, we have specific laws that say certain things that maybe people don't understand or like. Washington has a different set of laws that maybe people do understand, maybe they do like, right? My fear is if Trump were to say anything related to firearms is a state issue, right? We're going to be celebrating in Idaho like nobody's business, right? But states like Washington, Oregon, California, that all of a sudden now gets even more restrictive, right? And so, again, the law of the land should be the Second Amendment of the United States. Our current Supreme Court is having a hard time. Even our current Supreme Court, Justice Roberts and what's her name, Barrett, Coney, they ruled against. They don't like ghost guns. They don't like 80%ers, that sort of thing. So if they're that wishy-washy on that, what happens when like a federal assault weapons ban, Ocean State Tactical, the Snopes case comes up against the Supreme Court? Well, it was in front of them 2 weeks ago, and it didn't catch cert. And so that means it's not dead. That just means it might get picked up later in the session here in the fall, which means for a state like Washington or a state like California, there's going to be no injunctive relief until June or July of 2026. How many more gun dealers are going to go out of business in this next 18 months? It's going to be a lot. Wow. So keep an eye out on 1163. It's 39 pages of hot trash, and just educate yourself. Just educate yourself. Last thing in Washington, and I apologize that we go so long on Washington.
It's good info, but we have a lot of people from Washington that watch the show, and Dave and I tried to do a gun law video. It'll come out before this, and it was kind of atrocious, to be honest. As far as we just didn't quite grasp it like you do.
The scale of it.
Yeah. So I appreciate your insight.
So in Washington, it is illegal to have a firearms registry, right? It's illegal federally to have a firearms registry. And there is a firearms registry. And everybody says, well, no, there's not. There's no firearms registry. So if you've purchased a handgun in Washington, and my dates are going to be wrong, and I apologize, Reddit. Since the late 90s, there has been a form that goes to the Department of Licensing that registers that firearm, okay? Since 2016, 2017, there was a form that was the assault weapons, basically permission slip. And so you did your 4473, and then you had to do another set of paperwork, and it was basically the same information. And on the backside of that piece of paperwork, there was 4 questions. Are you the buyer? Blah, 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 blah. The 4th question was, do you allow for the violation of your HIPAA rights is basically what it is. It's basically that the state of Washington can look into your mental health and all this and that and whatever. There was a $25 fee associated with that that gun dealers just paid for. Now in Washington, there's an $18 fee that every firearms transaction needs to have on it. But there is a form. It is available if you literally go to Google and just type in Firearms Record Certification Request, Washington State. There is a Department of Licensing form that comes up, and I'm sure Seth and the team will make this available. But it says right at the top, Washington State Department of Licensing. It's where you get your driver's license from. It's where you get your concealed weapons permit from. Use this form to get firearms certification for yourself or a deceased individual. We offer the following: concealed pistol license history, firearms purchase history. Wait a minute, there's no registry. How do they have that? Firearms dealer license or an alien's firearms license. So with this form, you can request information on, do I have a concealed weapons permit? Or does my neighbor have a concealed weapons permit? Oh, do I own any firearms? Or does my neighbor own any firearms?
Oh, boy.
This is available, right? And so, again, this is not to stir the hornet's nest and to create a debate over it's a registry or it's not a registry or it's not. The Department of Licensing has your information. Who runs the Department of Licensing? Right? You always just have to take that step back and just look and say, okay, does my state have my best interests at heart? What information do they have about me, and what individuals can get access to that information?
Does Idaho have that?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good. I figured, but
no, we've got a concealed weapons permit.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm sure that there's a record of that somewhere. But I can tell you that when a firearm is purchased in Idaho, we do a 4473. And when I say we, I'm speaking for FFLs. Don't come at me, bro.
Somebody will.
Somebody will. Trust me. We do a 4473. That information stays with us. It does not go to the ATF. It does not go to the FBI. It does not go to the Kootenai County Sheriff. It does not go to the Idaho State Patrol unless that firearm gets traced. And if that firearm gets traced, So again, your car gets broken into, your handgun gets stolen, and 6 weeks later it's used in a bank robbery. Your SIG, right? The ATF is going to reach out to SIG. They're going to say, hey, serial number XYZ, where did that go? Oh, that went to blah, blah, blah distributor. Okay, Mr. Distributor, where did that gun go? Oh, that got sold to North Idaho Arms. Okay, great. North Idaho Arms, where did that gun go? Oh, that gun went to Seth. And then they're going to ask you, like, hey, man, like, your gun was used in a crime. Why? Oh, I reported that stolen 6 weeks ago. Great. Boom. Case closed. Done. So if your guns do get stolen, report them stolen.
Good idea.
Yeah, report them stolen. The other part of that is Idaho being a face-to-face transfer state where we have legal protections as Idaho residents where you and I can transact guns in the parking lot of Walmart if we wanted to, know who you're selling your firearms to, and maybe if there's any doubt or suspicion or just fear, go to your local gun store. It does not have to be me. Go to your local gun store, pay that $15, $20 transfer fee, and get that thing booked out of your name and into that person's. So now if that ever shows up, got used in a crime, got stolen or whatever, you're not having anybody knocking on your door asking you for information. It's like, no, man, I sold that thing and it's gone. Well, who'd you sell it to? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. We see that all the time, right? We see it all the time. We see it at the gun shows.
That's smart.
1,000 cars in the parking lot of the gun show, and 950 of them are not Idaho plates. That means 995% of the people that are in there are not from the state. And so now you're selling your firearm because, again, maybe, number one, it's your right. It's your right to do that, right? But number two, maybe you got to pay a bill, or maybe the gun just doesn't work for you anymore, or whatever, right? It's time to move on. You want to fund another project, and so you sell it to somebody thinking that they're an Idaho resident, and maybe they're not, right? Maybe they're not, right? Maybe they don't have the same intentions with that firearm as you and you do as you and your your family. So, just protect yourself.
Yeah.
Protect yourself for sure. So, yeah.
What are you carrying right now?
Oh man, like you want to do just gun, or you want to do like a full like pocket gun? Like,
other than keys, how about that?
Oh, okay.
None of the boring stuff.
None of the boring stuff. So every man should carry a pocket knife.
That's cute.
So just a little Benchmade pocket knife, nothing crazy.
Kind of a like a throwdown almost. Like
yeah, it's just
I wouldn't lose sleep if I lost that.
No, $60 pocket knife.
Yep.
Every nicotine addict's got to have a can of chew. You carry your wallet. Every adult male should have a watch. Wear a watch. Be responsible. Know where you're going, where you need to be, and how to get there. Carry a watch. And then I carry... Today, I've got a Glock 43X. It's got a little Holosun EPS carry on it. It's got some upgraded sights on it. Gun is clear. We're out of the way there. I carry the Shield Arms.
Where's the G9 ammo, bro?
I sell so much of it that literally, I can't even get any for myself, right? So I carry the Shield Arms 15-round mags. But this is a great little gun. I've got a SIG fuse that I just bought for myself that I'm getting ready to do some stuff on, some Cerakote, and
nice.
do some cool stuff on. So I'll put a SIG fuse into the rotation as well. Being in the business,
you probably go through a lot of guns.
Well, here's the thing. If you never, ever, ever want to shoot a gun again, own a gun store. Own a gun store.
Yeah.
Today's my day off. I'm sitting here with you.
And here we are.
Right?
Look at that.
So, but yeah, I do burn through a lot of firearms. I burn through a lot of different handguns because I like to know what's going on and kind of see what the hype is. And
it'd be hard to settle on one.
It is.
I try. Yeah. I just switched. So my full size gun is an FN 509 Tactical.
Where'd you buy that from?
I've had that for 3. Not you. Sorry. It was before you were here. So in my defense. And then I had a SIG 365 was like my carry gun, but I kind of wanted a carry gun that I could use the same magazines. There's value in that for me. Yeah. So I ended up getting the 509 Compact. From you guys.
Oh, hey, look at that.
I didn't bring it today, but I haven't run it through its paces yet, so I'm not carrying it. But I like that gun a lot. Feels pretty good in my hand. Put a little red dot on it and a flashlight, and it's good to go.
I think the coolest thing that SIG's done, and haven't always been a huge SIG fan, and I'm really starting to come around. With that 365 platform, you know, you've got 10-round mags, 12-round mags, 15-round mags. Now they've got the 17-round mag that's got the adaptable base plates that make that mag fit in all the 365s. So from the original 365 up to the macro and the fuse, you can run a 17-round mag, and now they have a 21-round mag available as well. That's very, very, very cool. And then just to throw this out there, SIG has a new off-duty program that they're launching, and we're going to be a dealer, and you're going to see $150 to $575 off.
Oh, wow.
For guys that are LEO, military, retired, honorably discharged, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Just when I switched everything over to FN, you're going to tell me that.
Yeah. So there's, and we're not the only dealer that's going to be out there doing that, right? There's going to be some other great dealers locally that are doing that. And so just for you guys that have served and you guys have you know, signed the bottom line, right? Signed your name on the paperwork and said that we'll stand up and defend. Like, number one, thank you, because I didn't do that. So thank you. And number two, there's a little something extra that that most of the manufacturers do, but SIG is really, really going to be coming hard to the table with that.
Yeah, that's cool. I do have the X10. That's cool. That's a nice gun.
Yeah, that's cool. Gun.
Yeah. All right. Let me bust into mine. So I'm running my my tactical fanny pack today. This is that a Eberly stock. That's an Idaho company.
Yeah. That's cute.
It is cute. Thank you. Rather unassuming. Cool thing about this pouch, you've got a.
You know what though?
What?
As an adult male.
Yeah.
If I see an adult male wearing a fanny pack, I know there's a gun in there.
Right. I wear it crossbody a lot.
Oh yeah.
Which, you know, maybe looks, I don't know, probably looks more like it that way. Tourniquet holder built into it. Look at that. So I've always got a tourniquet on me, which I appreciate. Got a little flashlight in here. Some spare rounds. Look at these little weird little snub nose bullets. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're set back in the case. Kind of neat. And in here, I'm running my 357 mag today. So I've got it set up. I won't even take it off. It's got a little trigger guard cover in here, and it's tied into the back. So if I need to draw it, I pull it out, and it pops off the trigger guard. And this is a Smith & Wesson M&P 40. No. No, what do they call it? It's the M&P 340.
Yeah. 340 PD probably.
That's it.
Yeah.
I asked the gun deal.
Yeah. So I've got a similar setup. I've got a Fieldcraft Survival black fanny pack.
Yep.
And I'm the weird dude that runs a Ruger LCRX 9mm revolver.
Oh, that's cool.
I like that.
I dig it.
And the reason being is, and again, we've got videos that are coming out and videos that we're doing is, guys talk about truck guns and talking about like bugging out and just like when bad stuff happens. Don't be the dude that carries such an obscure gun that has obscure magazines and obscure ammo that, like, literally, if you've got to pick up stuff off the ground, that I can't find 41 Magnum for my revolver, or I can't find 450 Bushmaster. It's like, if the world really goes sideways, you are going to have a plethora of 9mm, 45 ACP, 5.56, 308, and 22 long rifle that are laying around.
Yeah.
Right. And so, just always know that, right? Of when you're picking your carry gun or whatever. Like, I get it. Sometimes being outside of the box is cool, but
pick the gun and the method that you'll actually carry it with. Right. I carry this a lot because it's so comfortable and easy. There's no reason not to. Sometimes I appendix carry. Mm-hmm. But I have a gnarly scar right on my belt line on the side that I appendix carry, and it's just uncomfortable. So if I'm sitting for a long period of time, it puts pressure right on that nerve. It's terrible.
But I'm appendix carrying.
Yeah.
And I've got a dicky do. And so I'm appendix carrying with a 43X. And, do I know the gun's there? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even for big guys like me, you can still conceal that gun and get it hidden away so you can live your life, and you've always got a firearm on.
Yeah. So. I agree. So, anyway, good advice.
Yeah.
That was a good little pocket dump.
Yeah.
What's going on with the shop? You guys are about a year old. You're doing a fair amount of magazine and ammunition business for sure.
Yeah. So, 1 year old, forward-facing to the customer base, right? So I personally was in Post Falls at our location the very, very end of November last year and December, and there's no sign on the building. There's no nothing. Nobody knew we were there, and it was just building the store out. So kind of January 1st was our let's go, right? So we just hit a year. I don't want to talk numbers, right? Because
somebody's out there listening.
Somebody's always listening. But I can tell from the reports that we run and how many background checks and all this and that. We are, if not the fastest growing gun store in North Idaho, we are the fastest growing gun store in North Idaho.
That's fantastic.
And we sell lots of firearms. We sell lots of firearms to Idaho guys. And understand that our store is basically two gun stores. We are an Idaho gun store and we are a Washington gun store. And so the farther you come into the interior, I think sometimes the harder it gets for the Washington guys because they're running into people that maybe don't know the law or don't know what they can do, what they can't do. And so they just say, oh, you're from Washington, go away. God bless you, right? And so, we get lots of guys every day that come in. They're Idaho guys. Hey, we're just here to check you out. I heard about you. I saw you on this podcast. I saw you on Fox News, blah, 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 whatever. My neighbor told me about you. So I'm just here to check you out. And what they realize is A, it's just myself and Tyler, just two dudes, right? B, we're nobody special. Like legitimately, we are nobody special. You and I always joke, I'm just a fat kid who owns a gun store. I say that all the time. But at the end of the day, it's like the experience of going to a gun store should be about the customer's experience and them finding the thing that they want or they need, not about how cool or how badass the dude that stands behind the counter is or was.
Because that's not relatable. If I send in the 50-year-old woman that just moved here and is like, I want to get a gun, I know nothing about guns, I send her into that shop, she's going to be massively intimidated, right? If I send her into you and Ty, it's like, hey, you guys are going to take the time in a cool way to explain it to her, and you're not going to make her feel like a dumbass for not knowing about guns.
And sometimes the best customer service is not actually selling something.
Right.
And that's the hard part for a lot of businesses in general, because they think somebody walks into their door that they have to pull every single dollar they can out of that person's pocket. And yes, I am a capitalist. I want every dollar I can. I want to make as much money as I can. But literally line number one of my business, my business mantra, my business plan when I wrote it was, do not be a vampire, do not be a parasite on the community. And so sometimes that means you just go like, hey, Mr. Customer or Miss Customer, that's a great idea. Let's continue to talk about this. And we flush that idea out a little bit. And before you know it, the thing that they were originally thinking about is now something 100% different. And maybe they spent more money, maybe they spent less money, maybe they bought from somewhere else. At the end of the day, when somebody leaves my store and they get in the car and they're like, wow, that dude didn't BS me.
Yep.
That's all I care about.
People love that. That's how we run our real estate team is just being truthful, right? I'm not trying to sell. I talk people out of homes more than I ever talk them into homes.
And we've had some situations, I'll tell you real quick. We had a guy that came in and, he relocated and he had saw me on TV and whatever. And he was just kind of nose wide open. Now all of a sudden he could buy all these things. And so he's all over the place. He wants to do all this stuff and buy all this stuff and whatever. And he's wanting to special order a bunch of things. And literally it's like, we're pulling up on the computer screen. So like, this is the thing that you want, right? And he's like, yep, that's what I want. And I'm like, okay, you're sure, right? Because what you're telling me that you're using it for is not what this is. No, this is what I want. This is what I want. Okay, so I'm going to have you prepay for it and understand that there's no returns on special orders. Yeah, no problem. Fast forward 2 weeks, it's the wrong product, and guess who's the asshole because I bring up the fact that, like, hey, Mr. Customer, there's no returns on special orders. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Well, I'll eat it. It is what it is. We'll take care of it. It's
wow.
$200 or whatever it is, whatever. And guess what? That guy's not a customer anymore.
Yeah.
Like, we're not everything for everybody. And that is okay, right? That is okay. You are not going to sell homes to every single person that reaches out to you, right? Yep. We are not going to be able to sell something and facilitate every single person that reaches out to us. Either they don't like the products we sell, they don't like the price we offer it at, they don't like me. Like, I get that, right? But for the 98% of the people that walk into the door, it's just like, hey, how you doing? I'm just looking. No problem, Mr. Looking. If you have any questions, if you want to look at anything, if you want to see anything, just let us know. And we just let them wander. And what happens is guys wander around for 5 or 6 minutes, and before you know it, they're like, hey, can I check that out? Yeah, man, no problem. There is no sales pitch. It should never, ever, ever feel like you're buying a used Toyota or a used Honda when you go into a gun store.
Right.
It should never feel like that.
Yep.
It feels like that in some places.
You got any plans coming up for that?
Yeah.
That you can talk about?
Yeah, we got some stuff that we're brewing on. So, we've got our partnership that we're working with Genesis Firearms.
So if you don't know, if you don't know what Genesis are, they're right here. They're in Post Falls, right?
They're like 3 miles up the road from us.
They make the baddest freaking shotgun you have ever seen in your life. And if you get on their Instagram, you will regret it because you will want to buy every one of them. And they ain't cheap.
Yeah. So what Genesis, and again, I hopefully I don't speak out of pocket, but what Genesis learned was being a manufacturer and then trying to sell your product and handle all the paperwork and all the transfers and do all of those things, it gets real hard real fast.
Oh, yeah.
And the amount of paperwork just quadruples, right? And so literally, we do all the transfers for Genesis. We sell some Genesis guns. We have a couple. We make a couple bucks when we sell them. But at the end of the day, if you want to go to Genesis and pay them directly, cool. They're going to tell you when your gun's done and it's ready to go, it's going to go to BZ. He's going to book it in. He's going to do all your paperwork. You're going to pay him a small, reasonable transfer fee, and boom, it's done.
Yeah.
And so we're doing a lot with that. We're going to, in fact, we're going to do some remodeling here. I was at Home Depot yesterday doing some remodeling in the store to kind of dedicate a wall to Genesis. So we're going to have some more
sexy wall.
Yeah, some more stuff for them. So that's going to be awesome. William Kirk from Washington Gun Law. He is a national spokesperson for a carry insurance. And so we met with those guys down at SHOT Show. Very, very strong Christian family-owned business, and we want to offer their products in North Idaho as well.
I'm going to come see you for that because you mentioned that it's not just firearms, it's any weapon.
It's anything.
Fists,
cars, baseball bats.
Yeah.
If you have to use a weapon in a defensive situation, again, in North Idaho, is Sheriff Norris going to come after you? No. He's probably going to thank you for a job well done. But there are going to be some civil repercussions, right? And so that is what we want to help with, right? And it's it's a monthly or an annual fee that you pay, and it's cool, and we make a small commission off of it, and then you have a legal team behind you. So we've got that. We have a partnership with another prominent national firearms manufacturer based out of Texas. Probably the most pro-gun firearms manufacturer, and I'll say it, Sons of Liberty Gun Works.
Oh, fantastic.
And if you're an LEO, you're an agency, and you need a firearm, you need to look at Sons of Liberty Gun Works because their warranty on their firearm, as a police officer, if your firearm gets used in an officer involved, that firearm gets locked up for some amount of time, right? Sons of Liberty Gun Works has a 100% replacement warranty. So if your AR-15 gets used and it gets locked up for 6 months for investigation or whatever, Sons of Liberty is going to send you a new gun. So we're honored. I've known Mike and the guys at Sons of Liberty for a bunch of years, and I'm finally able to make the financial commitment that I need to make to bring that product into North Idaho and represent it well, which means, we're going to work on bringing their armorers classes up to North Idaho and getting the guys up here. We've already had now 2-3 different agencies locally within about 50 miles of us that have needed new firearms, and we don't take a cut of that. We just facilitate. We're the dealer of record. We make sure everything gets done, but budgets are so thin, and there's not enough money to outfit as many officers as there needs to be. And so rather than us making $1,000 profit on a $15,000 order or $1,500 profit on a $15,000 order, we're just going to run that order directly through the manufacturer, and then maybe one more officer gets outfitted with that money that's left over. And so, I wish I could say that I was 100% in it as a not-for-profit. I do need to make money, but there are more important things than owning a new Ferrari or, a new, what's that cool ass Dodge or the T-Rex or the Raptor or whatever. Like, man, I'd love a $100,000 pickup,
right.
But, my 2017 is going to have to make it for another couple of years.
That's a great way to give back to the community, man. Like, that's huge. That says a lot. I am a firm believer that whatever you put into the universe, you will get back. So I think that's a good way to go about it. So if you're out there and you're like, man, I like what he's saying, come support the shop, because he's not making money on those law enforcement deals, but he's doing the right thing with it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And
come buy some stuff.
It's crazy because, I'm 49 years old and I've been in retail my whole life, and I've worked for wealthy people, making wealthy people wealthier. And I wish that 49-year-old Brian would have made the gamble. I wish that 29-year-old Brian would have made the gamble on himself.
Right.
Because, like listening to you and you talk about being an entrepreneur and being in business for yourself, it is the most horrendously scary thing in the world, and it is the most awesome thing in the world. And so, I've got guys that have known me for 25, 30 years, and I tell people all the time, it's like, hey, you might not have liked 25-year-old BZ. You might not have liked 29-year-old BZ. I was an arrogant, cocky prick. And not that I'm not arrogant, not that I'm not cocky, but I've realized my faith, and I found my calling, and I just want to be better. I just want to do better.
Yeah.
And if that means that I make a whole bunch of big piles of Scrooge McDuck money and I get to sit on a pile of gold, that's great, because at the end of the day, that's what God wants for me. The reality is I'm probably not going to have a pile of money, but I'm going to have a good, clean, clear conscience with people that love me, that are around me, customers that support me, and I have the ability to give back to the community and support the things that I want to support. So, boom.
Well said, brother. BZ, North Idaho Arms, thank you, sir. Always a pleasure.
Beautiful Post Falls, Idaho.
We'll put the website and contact info down in the show notes so you guys can find him, so you can go buy some stuff and support his local business. Appreciate you, brother.
Rock and roll. Thank you, guys.